Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of voice the radio. So today we need to have a chat about a new Pokémon TCG deck that is going out there and cheating some extra prizes. I say cheating, not really cheating, obviously, but cheating some extra prizes. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it is one that I'm very excited about, that not enough people are talking about. And it actually revolves around Skeledirge. Now, I love me some Fuecoco. I believe I have been extremely clear about the fact that I love me some Fuecoco. Skeledirge? Fine. Not hugely in love with it, but it does evolve from Fuecoco, and that makes me pretty gosh darn happy. And there is a Skeledirge EX deck which has just come out over in Japan. And it has a unique Skeledirge EX which has not been found elsewhere. For what it's worth, there is a Mewtwo deck which is releasing at the same time that they released as a pair. It has already been officially confirmed and revealed that there is a Mewtwo EX coming in Paradox Rift, which has to be this one, surely. So it is likely that Skeledirge is going to be in Paradox Rift, and if not, then it's going to be in a promo product releasing around about the same time. So we're going to be getting it fairly soon. So yes, this is a future deck for us, but we're going to be getting it fairly soon, don't worry. And I know on this channel I used to cover lots of weird Japanese decks that were surprising and unusual. We don't do that so much anymore, but still there are some times, like today, where a deck catches my eye and I just go, yes, that sounds good to me. We need to have a chat about this. So what's so good about Skeledirge? Well, what's so good about Skeledirge, and I should mention, yes, there was a Skeledirge in Powder Evolved, that is not what we're talking about here, alright? It's not the attack, 2 fire energy, 160, not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. That's not particularly good, nobody particularly cares. It is the ability. Once during your turn, you may discard a fire energy from your hand, and if you do, all of your Pokemon's attacks deal 60 more to your opponent's active Pokemon during this turn. Now, it says once during your turn, so it's only once per Skeledirge, but it does not say you can only use one explosive song ability during your turn. Which means that if you get 2 or 3 Skeledirge out at the same time, you absolutely are allowed to use 2 or 3 Skeledirge ability during your turn. Which incidentally is ridiculous. Because now you're doing 120, 180 more damage when you attack. That's clearly preposterous and awesome. Also, as a fun little side note, because Fuecoco is a beast, we do actually have 90 HP Fuecoco, the one from Paldea Evolved, which, yes, has the amazing art rare. So you can rock, if you want, with a 90 HP Fuecoco, which as far as I'm concerned is a moderately big deal. There are some 80 HP one, like there's the 80 HP one that can do 20, for instance, also from Paldea Evolved. But I like the one with 90 HP because that is a very good amount of HP. So nice little bonus if you want to go down the Fuecoco route. So you've got Skeledirge and you've got the ability, and that's a good thing, but I've just told you we don't like the attack. So what actually are we attacking with here? Simple, ladies and gentlemen. We're attacking with Greedent VMAX. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Greedent VMAX. I adore Greedent VMAX. This has been one of the cards that I have been absolutely loving and desperate to make work since it released, and it seems like we might finally actually have a use for it. Because Greedent VMAX seems like the perfect partner for Skeledirge. What we've got is, for 2 energy, 30 damage. If your opponent's basic Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, take 2 more prize cards. Sounds like it's amazing. It is amazing, but the big problem here is you only do 30 damage, and only doing 30 damage is rubbish. Also, fun little side note, don't forget we've got the special art of Greedent V, which is absolutely adorable. And this just works perfectly at this stage, because Greedent VMAX, you just need to do a bunch of extra damage, and then it's perfect. And Skeledirge does a bunch of extra damage. And the numbers here work out really very nicely. Because realistically speaking, we're not accelerating a bunch of fire energy onto Greedent. That's just not that likely. Really what we're thinking about here is using double turbo energy. That's generally where we're rolling here. And obviously double turbo energy means you do 20 less damage, but you get 2 colourless energy at once. And that means you're only actually doing 10 damage. But then in comes Skeledirge, and now you're doing 70 damage, and 70 damage is perfect. Because, you know that Comfey, which is seeing a lot of play right now in a bunch of decks? 70 HP, it will go down, and oh look, because you've taken a KO with Greedent, free prize cards. This doesn't take 1 extra prize, this takes 2 extra prizes. A Routes, which is going to go and evolve into Gardevoir, sees a lot of play at the moment. That's got 70 HP, so that one's going down. Hey, in 151, we finally got ourselves a 70 HP Charmander, which can then go and evolve into that Charizard, which is looking like a very good deck at the moment. Yeah, 70 HP doesn't matter, you're still going down to this. A lot of support Pokemon and a lot of evolving Pokemon have 70 HP. Here, we start off with 30 with Greedent. We take it down to 10 with double turbo energy, but we then put it up to 70 with Skeledirge, and now all of a sudden you're getting a straight one-hit KO for free prize cards. That is awesome. It's not always enough. I'll be honest with you, it's not always enough, but there will be games, not every game, okay, but there will be games where you get the turn 2 Skeledirge, turn 2 Greedent VMAX, and then all you need is a fire energy and a double turbo, and all of a sudden you are rolling. But there's 2 more things we need in this deck, and that is we need extra consistency, and we need ourselves an option for when Greedent doesn't work. Greedent is amazing against basic Pokemon, and even bigger basic Pokemon, something like a Greninja, Radiant Greninja, for instance. And I know it's not that easy, because stage 2 and all that, but if you can get 2 Skeledirge out, use the ability on each of them. Remember, you have to discard 1 fire energy per ability. You cannot discard 2 fire energy and activate both the ability. That would be amazing. It would also be unfair. But if you can use 2 of these ability, then with the double turbo, you're then doing 130, and oh look, that's a one-hit KO on Radiant Greninja for free prizes. And to be fair, you can get up to, 190 if you got free Skeledirge out, even using double turbo. 210 if you're not using double turbo. But at that stage, that is a little bit silly, frankly. It's not that likely to happen. So how do we get just a general answer as well as extra consistency? Arceus V-Star. And Arceus V-Star is perfect in a deck like this because it basically does everything you need it to do. Obviously, you've got the V-Star power, Starbirth, lets you search for any 2 cards, and a lot of the time that's going to be, your Rare Candy and your Double Turbo, because they're the hardest cards to search out. But it could be Rare Candy Skeledirge, or whatever else you actually need it to be, but that's a lot of the time what it's going to be. Rare Candy and Double Turbo, because they're the 2 cards in the deck you really need that end up being difficult to go for. And really, you need the Candy, Skeledirge, Double Turbo, plus the Fire Energy, and obviously the Greedent VMAX. You kind of need that all on turn 2 or maybe turn 3. You need this pretty quickly, so having something like Arceus that can cherry pick any 2 cards out of your deck, that makes a very big deal and makes it more likely you're going to be able to hit that combo. And obviously here, because we've got Greedent and we got Arceus, then you can go ahead and use something like Forest Seal Stone if you so wish, which can then go and get you another piece of the pie. And that's kind of how we end up making it. On the list I'm going to show you in a minute that did well in Japan doesn't play Forest Seal Stone. I personally would, because this is how you get this awkward combo going. Yes, it's a little bit annoying. Yes, it's a little bit awkward, but we've got ways to fudge it a little bit and try and make it work. And then, of course, Arceus can just do 200 damage, although a lot of the time 180 because of double turbo, which is a decent amount of damage. And then, of course, while you do that, you're accelerating basic energy to your Pokemon V, which could be Arceus or Greedent. And now, actually, you're setting them up a little more easily. Remember, it will not accelerate energy to Skeledirge, because Skeledirge is a Pokemon EX, not a Pokemon V, and Arceus' Trinity Nova only works for Pokemon V. Although, to be fair, it is only 2 fire energy, so you can make it work. And then elsewhere in the deck, we do have a couple of other options. Bibarel is a very good one for drawing cards and extra consistency. I told you we need extra consistency. This will do the job very nicely indeed. And then, of course, your Radiant Pokemon of choice here. I think it has to be Radiant Charizard, surely. Because you're playing Fire Energy anyway, and Radiant Charizard gives you a decent option. Once your opponent's taken 4 prizes, 250 for a single energy. That's pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty good. Bear in mind, you will need a counter stadium here, because Path to the Peak is going to be super duper duper annoying, because you are really relying on abilities of Pokemon that have rule boxes here. So you have to have a counter stadium. Path to the Peak will be a very bad thing. If you're looking for a decent attacking option, you can actually go Magma Basin here to accelerate energy to your Fuecoco before you evolve into the Skeledirge, or to accelerate energy onto your Charizard. Remember, it only goes to fire Pokemon, but I can get your Charizard rolling Eternal too early if you need it to. Not what the list I'm going to show you went for, but I do think it is a decent option. It's certainly one that I would have a muck around with testing. The list which did well in Japan just went for Pokemon Search Stadium, and honestly, it's kind of hard to judge them for that. So they went with Mesagoza, which is, of course, that stadium that lets you flip a coin, and if heads, you get to go for any Pokemon, which is very, very good. And then they went for Artisan as well, which is the one that lets you search your deck for a basic Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box, pop it straight onto your bench. Here it's mostly for Fuecoco or Bidoof to eventually turn into Bibarel, but it's still something that can help you out quite a lot in terms of getting rolling. Here's the list that did well over in Japan. And here's a far better list that's made by Pokecard Book. And just an easier version to see. And honestly, right, it's a deck that went and won an 18-person tournament. So let's not go and pretend that this is some kind of phenomenal, perfect deck which is going to win every single tournament going forward. It is not some kind of perfect, unassailable deck. What it is an extremely interesting, very unique deck, the likes of which I'm willing to bet you haven't seen before, which could end up doing very, very well in tournaments. And if you can get a good list of this, which draws quite well, this could be a very, very good deck moving forward. It is certainly one that I'm going to start having a bunch of play with over on PTCG Live, because it just seems like a lot of fun, ladies and gentlemen, and I like having fun when I play. So there we go. That's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. What do you think about this deck? Do you think it could be good, or do you think it's a little too gimmicky and destined for failure? Let me know in the comment section. And us, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Dark1313, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.